So, talked in the past about books and about reading, and so um, I do an installment in the book club. um, this book is this book is one that I have a unique relationship with, because of how I came to this book, how this book found me, and it's interesting because I've been needing to talk to somebody about this book anyway. So I'm going to take this moment with all of you to talk to this person at the same time. So we got to Nebraska for the national championships this year, and gridded basically across from us, the closest people just across from us, in a grid spot was a couple with a Corvette. That's how we are in the race world. We don't know people's names. We go, oh, there's Corvette right over there. That's it was a Corvette with a wrapped hood, and so that had caught my attention. And being who I am, I talked to everybody, and it turns out that of the couple that was there, the gentleman, Michael, he was very similar to me. So we're talking immediately. It just happens, and we start talking. And what his hood is wrapped in is the cover to this book. Basically, is the graphics for the cover of this book, Beneath a Scarlet Sky, by Mark Sullivan. It's funny, Mark Sullivan wrote this, but but I don't think of Mark at all when I read this book. Sorry, Mark. That's not fair. But it is a quasi-biography. It's that, as the author says, it's written in novel form, and it's about a guy. Pino Lela is his name, which every time I hear it, I think, gosh, that'd be a good name for a wine. And this is currently out to be made as a movie. It's slowly working towards the process of becoming a movie, and which is interesting if they make it into a movie and everything. There just should be a wine to go with it, a Pino Lela wine. But Pino Lela is Italian. He is born before World War II, and the story takes place during World War II. And the interesting thing that gets me into this is the guy with the Corvette across from me, Michael, is Michael Lela, Pino Lela's son. And so the book is about his father. And it's written, the author hears about the story, that the author actually writes about, he's been looking for a story to write, and he's been looking at different things, and he hears this story about this guy, this amazing story from World War II of this guy who helps save a bunch of Jews during World War II and rescue them out of Italy, and saves them from the Nazis, and he's kind of the reluctant hero, and that has other stories about a woman he meets and falls in love, and what happens in that story. And I don't want to give away the whole story at all. And it's interesting because Michael Lela was a great guy. We got along really, really good. He's racing and has great stories in and of himself. So Pino Lela, the father in the story, is taught to drive by a guy who goes on to become a Formula One world champion. And so Michael Lela grows up in the Formula One world and grows up knowing Ascari and Enzo Ferrari and the greats of the racing world in Italy. I mean, the home of amazing cars and all of that. And Michael Lela grows up with these people around him and all of that. So he's got these great stories of that. And Michael Lela grows up to be a successful individual in his own right, and flies airplanes and and drives race cars, and so he and I hit it off, and we have great interests together, and we could talk all night while our wives are like, okay, you people ought to go to bed, and so it was this great experience. But the whole time in the background, he's saying you should read the book, and so I actually buy the book from him while I'm there, and he his son Michael writes an inscription to it for me, and I also download it on audiobook, and I start listening to it immediately, and listen to the book on the way back from Nebraska. and Michael, I'm glad I didn't read the book while we were there. The book is challenging. It's not a happy story. The woman that Pino falls in love with, when you've come to the story through Michael Layla, you really hope that woman's his wife or his mom. You really hope that's his mom. It's not his mom. She's killed horribly. I shouldn't give that away, but I have to. And his dad never really recovers from that. Wow, Michael, and this book meant a lot to me, and it's because of Michael that it hit me so hard, because reading a novel where you know the guy, I know the guy lives. I know the guy lives through it because I've met his son, and he's not old enough to have a son in the book. So I know that part, and there's times that's helpful in the book. Knowing that he's going to survive is helpful to read, but also reading a novel that is true, and I know it's true because I met his son. It was just a weird way to go through a book. And it's not a real traditional book because it doesn't wrap up with this great happy ending and the hero wins and all of that, but I'd say most books fall into tragedy and then they recover and triumphantly, and that's not this book. This book goes like this, and you're like, wow, and you get to the end, and to me, if it's for you, anything like me, you get to the end and you're like, God, that's time I can't get back, and now I care about somebody that I don't know, and I'm like, am I happy I read that? I think so, because the story's great, and it has these great panoramas and all of that, but on the other hand, it's real life. Its life doesn't end with a great storybook ending and all of that. It wraps up with a guy who goes on to the rest of his life with divorces and marriages and trying to find happiness, and whether or not he's a happy guy. It finishes, they go, yep, he's still around, and all of this affected him, and all of this he's a guy, and it's amazing he shared the story with us. And I can see why it would make a great movie and all of those sorts of things, but it also, it just is, anybody who likes, this is what I want my war stories to be. Band of Brothers. I want them to win. Okay, they have tragedy too. Not everybody lives and all that, but this isn't that. This is better than that. This is better than that because it's worse than that. Because in many ways, this guy gets to your heart, and you want for him and things, and he's a real guy instead. So, God, I can't recommend it more than I just don't have enough words to say. I would hope you would get this book, you would read this book. The audiobook is really good too. It's well done. So if that's what you prefer. But it's kind of like, it's not similar at all, but my opinion would be is is Schindler's List is a movie everyone should see. You should just be required to see it. You should just, as a human being, all human beings should owe it to humanity and to what's possible to have to watch it, because it should be part of your education. This is like that to me. Very different, but it's still the same thing. You should. This is about what human beings can be, both good and bad, and that it's a tale that should change us. And yeah, damn it, Michael, you should warn a guy when you're gonna hand him a book that's gonna challenge the way he thinks about human beings. And to me, it's that kind of book in a very understated sort of way. He's a heroic character, but it doesn't. Schindler's List plays out as big story in your face. This trips you along and makes you laugh and cry and happy and feel, but when it's all said and done, it rips your guts out. It's like, damn it, no, you can't do that. And a guy who's racing a car and parked across from you should warn you more than I think he tried to tell me, but yeah, God. Michael, Layla, I look forward to the next time we get to sit down and talk, because I've wanted to send you a text or an email or something, and you notice I haven't contacted you yet. And what I think I'm going to do is I'm about to send you a text message that sends you the link to this video, and it's because, damn man, I haven't known what to say. I haven't known how to text you and come any place close to expressing what reading this meant to me. I don't even know what it means to me yet. That's the whole thing. It's funny. I finished it. I finished it the day I got back from Nebraska. I've had this done a long time, and it's still been running around in there trying to figure out, what do I think of this? What does this say? But Michael, I look forward to a chance to have a discussion with you and ask questions. That's the blessing, the greatest blessing of having met you, is that I get to sit down and ask questions. I can ask you some things that will tell me more than what most people just get from this. I've been blessed to get to meet you, so I can talk to you. I'd love to meet your dad someday. I'd love to meet him, but God, for reading a book like this, that's asking a lot. That's asking too much. Nobody should get that lucky to get to read something this big, and then get to meet them and talk to them. I'm not sure what I would say to him, actually. I would hate to do this in front of him. I could do this in front of you, Michael, and say, yeah, I just want to know more. But thank you, author. Mark, if you see this, thank you for taking on this project. It's cool to have met it this way, because I know there's a chance you'll see this or whatever. Haven't read too many books that affected me the way reading this book was. And for the rest of you who, I really want you to read this, it's not likely... The book by itself is going to affect you, but to me, this was a whole nother thing to have met the son, and to have that in the back of my mind the whole time, that you want to separate yourself from the idea that this is a real person, and you want that because it's written like a story, and the author will tell you, these are old stories. These are old stories by heroes, and so he's not laying authenticity to every word that's there, and he puts words in his mouth, and he takes it all together and turns it into a story, and it's very clearly that, and it's written in that style. But now, for you coming to it like this, you too have to know that's a real guy with a real story from a real person. and all these things happen to a real human being, and that's, God, so shitty. People are so can be so horrendous that bad guys. That's everything I talk about here, about us needing to stand up because of what can happen when the world gets run by bad guys. It's a story that shows you in huge, horrible detail what can happen when bad people take over, and what can happen when good people take over. I'm warning you now. It's a book that's going to it's a wonderful book and not a fun ride in many ways. So you are fully warned, but man, I really can't hardly express enough how much you need to read that book. So, yeah, I hope that books, you have a chance in your life that books will mean that much to you. I love books. I devour books. I go through books like crazy. You see that I'm constantly surrounded by books. But I hope a few times in your life you get to read a book that will stir your insides as much. This one, I'd like to say it changed me, it made me better, or it made me, the whole thing is for everything you see that I talk about or do or whatever, this is a book that still has me wondering what it means to me. What did it do to me? I don't know yet. I don't know what it means. I'm worried it doesn't do anything. That's, I would say, more than anything, it's all this that doesn't have any place to go. I don't know what I'm supposed to do more than appreciate what happened, but that doesn't seem like enough. It's funny. So I've been involved with movies and television and theater and everything, and I haven't been able to help the whole time of going, God, I want to be involved with the movie. But I don't speak Italian. I don't do Italian accent at all. There are a few Americans in it. I want to walk by in the background. I don't know. But I also am not one who would trade on the knowledge of who I know, or I don't know. It's just one of these projects that if it happens out there, I know enough about the movie world to fear it won't. Somebody will get a hold of this and they'll have the rights to it and all of that, and it'll sit on a shelf forever. And because once somebody has the rights, if they don't make it, no one can make it, which that bothers me that could happen too. I'm afraid of it dying in a dark hole someplace, especially because the movie got started towards happening and then COVID happened and the whole world of movies is blown up, and so I don't know where it's at right now. I've tried to look out there and search, and it's still sitting parked. If you look it up, you'll see it's parked as rights purchased, and people are rumored to be involved in who might play people, but it's still all that stage. It's not something I see very actively involved in it, but God, if you need a guy to walk by in the background or something, a guy who it would matter a lot to just touch it. If you need somebody who cares about it, I care about it. So anyway, that wasn't very cheery maybe, but that's, God, read some books. Find some books in your life that matter to you. So thanks for putting up with this.